Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, looking out at the endless stars. The ship moved slowly through space, far from Earth and the other human colonies. This was the outer edge of human territory, where few ships dared to travel. Jake had been in space for 15 years. He knew every sound his ship made, every light on every control panel. Today felt different, though. Something was coming. He could feel it in his bones. "Sir, I'm getting strange readings on the long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Carter from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with bright eyes that missed nothing. Her fingers danced across the control panel as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures I've never seen before. They're big, sir. Really big, and they're heading our way." Captain Ben Rodriguez entered the bridge at that moment. He was a calm man who never raised his voice, but when he spoke, everyone listened. "Report," he said simply. Amy turned to face him. "Sir, we have multiple contacts approaching from the Zeta sector. The energy patterns don't match anything in our database. I count at least 12 ships, possibly more." Ben nodded slowly. He had been expecting this day for a long time. "Distance? 3 hours at their current speed, sir." "Very well. Send word to Chief Engineer Lisa Bennett. Tell her to run a full system check. Make sure everything looks normal." Ben's voice was steady, but Jake caught the hidden meaning. They needed to hide their real capabilities. Down in the engine room, Lisa Bennett received the message with a knowing smile. She was a small woman with grease-stained hands and the sharpest mind on the ship. She had been working on the Defiant's special systems for 2 years. Today, those systems would be put to the test. "Okay, people," Lisa called to her team. "Standard patrol configuration. I want all the advanced systems powered down and hidden. Make the ship look like exactly what it's supposed to be." Her team moved quickly. They had practiced this many times. Within minutes, the ship's true power was hidden behind layers of fake readings and false signals. To any outside observer, the USS Defiant would look like a simple human warship with basic weapons and shields. Meanwhile, far from the human ship, Admiral Vexstar stood in the command center of his flagship. He was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large black eyes. His species, the Zelathi, had conquered 47 different worlds. Humans would be number 48. "Report on the human vessel," Vexstar ordered. Commander Zekmoth, his science officer, looked up from his instruments. "One ship, Admiral. Medium size. Their technology appears primitive. Basic nuclear power, simple projectile weapons. They pose no threat." Vexstar smiled, showing sharp white teeth. "Excellent. This will be easier than we thought. The humans have been busy building colonies, but they have no real military power. Once we remove this single ship, the path to their worlds will be clear." The Zelathi had been watching humanity for months. Their scouts had observed human settlements, counted their ships, and studied their technology. Everything pointed to a weak species that had spread too far, too fast. They were ripe for conquest. Back on the USS Defiant, Dr. Alex Thompson sat in his small laboratory, studying alien language patterns. He was a thin man with thick glasses who spent most of his time buried in books and computer files. Most people thought his work was boring, but Alex knew better. Understanding alien languages could mean the difference between peace and war. "Any luck with the translation programs?" Jake asked, entering the lab. Alex looked up from his screens. "I'm picking up some transmissions from the approaching ships. Their language is complex, but I'm starting to see patterns. Give me another hour, and I might be able to understand basic concepts." "Do it," Jake said. "I have a feeling we're going to need every advantage we can get." On the bridge, Amy continued to track the approaching ships. Sir, they're slowing down. I think they want to talk. Ben nodded. Good. That gives us time to prepare. Amy, I want you to monitor all frequencies. Record everything they send us. Alex will need that data. Yes, sir. Jake returned to the bridge and took his position next to the captain's chair. What's the plan, sir? Ben looked at him with serious eyes. We let them think they're in control. We act like the scared, primitive humans they expect us to be. And we wait for the right moment to show them who we really are. The USS Defiant continued its patrol, but now every person on board knew they were being hunted. In the distance, 12 alien warships approached with confidence. They believed they were about to destroy a helpless human vessel. They had no idea what they were really facing. Lieutenant Sam Parker, the ship's tactical officer, checked his weapon systems one more time. Everything looked normal on the surface. But hidden beneath the standard controls were weapons that could tear apart entire fleets. For now, though, those weapons would stay hidden. The stage was set. In less than 3 hours, 2 very different species would meet for the first time. One side thought they knew exactly what would happen. The other side was ready to surprise them. The alien ships appeared on the main screen like dark shadows against the stars. Jake Morrison felt his heart beat faster as he watched them approach. Each ship was twice the size of the USS Defiant, with smooth curves and strange lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Incoming transmission, Amy Carter announced from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see her hands shaking slightly. Captain Ben Rodriguez straightened in his chair. Put it through. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. Admiral Vextar's black eyes stared at them with cold interest. When he spoke, his voice was deep and harsh. Human vessel, you will lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Ben stood up slowly, making sure to look nervous. This is Captain Ben Rodriguez of the United Earth vessel Defiant. We mean no harm. We're just on a routine patrol. Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Your species is young and weak. We are the Zealothi Empire. We have conquered 47 worlds. Soon, your worlds will belong to us as well. Behind Vextar, other aliens moved around their bridge. They looked confident, even bored. To them, this was just another easy victory. Please, Ben said, his voice shaking just enough to sound real. We don't want any trouble. What do you want? From us? Information, Vextar replied. Tell us about your military strength. How many ships do you have? What weapons do you carry? Ben looked around at his crew, pretending to be scared. We don't have much. This is one of our strongest ships. We have maybe 100 vessels like this one scattered across our territory. This was partly true. Humanity did have about 100 ships that looked like the USS Defiant. What Ben didn't mention was that each one was hiding technology that could destroy entire star systems. Commander Zygmuth stepped forward on the alien bridge. Admiral, request permission to scan their vessel. I want to confirm their technology level. Granted, Vextar said. Scan everything. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. On the Defiant, Amy's instruments lit up with warnings. Sir, they're scanning us. Deep scans across all frequencies. In the engine room, Lisa Bennett watched her hidden screens carefully. The alien scanning beams were washing over the ship, but they were only seeing what she wanted them to see. All the advanced systems were powered down and shielded. To the aliens, the Defiant would look like exactly what Ben had claimed, a simple human warship. How are we doing, Lisa? Ben asked through the ship's communication system. All green, Captain. They're seeing standard nuclear reactors, basic plasma weapons, and simple metal armor. Nothing to worry about. Dr. Alex Thompson worked frantically in his lab, listening to the alien communications. Their language was starting to make sense. What he heard made his blood run cold. "Jake," he called over the comm. "I need to speak with you and the captain, right now." Jake looked at Ben, who nodded. "Alex, what have you learned?" "They're not just here to study us, sir. I've been listening to their internal communications. They're planning a full invasion. This meeting is just to confirm that we're too weak to fight back." Ben's face remained calm, but his eyes grew hard. "How long do we have?" "Based on what I'm hearing, they plan to return with their full fleet in 3 days. They're talking about enslaving our population and strip mining our worlds." On the alien flagship, Zekmoth studied the scanning results with growing satisfaction. "Admiral, the scans confirm our intelligence reports. Primitive nuclear technology, basic weapon systems. Their shields couldn't stop our weakest attack." Vextar nodded. "Excellent. And their numbers?" "The captain appears to be telling the truth. Approximately 100 ships of this class. Number match for even our advanced fleet." Behind them, other Zealoty officers discussed the coming invasion in their own language. They talked about which human worlds would be the easiest targets, how many slaves they could take, and what resources they could steal. They spoke openly because they believed no human could understand them. They were wrong. Back on the human ship, Ben made a decision. "Amy, open a channel." The screen flickered back to Admiral Vextar's face. "Have you finished your scans?" Ben asked. "Yes," Vextar replied. "Your ship is even weaker than we expected. You humans have expanded too far with too little protection. That was a mistake. So what happens now?" Ben asked, still playing the part of a frightened captain. "Now you will send a message to your government. Tell them that the Zealoty Empire claims all human worlds. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species." Ben nodded slowly. "I understand. But could you give us a demonstration of your power, so we can tell our leaders what they're facing?" Vextar smiled his sharp smile. Of course. The alien flagship moved away from the Defiant. Its main weapons powered up, creating a bright blue glow along the ship's hull. Without warning, they fired at a nearby asteroid. The rock, which had been floating in space for millions of years, simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was nothing but glowing dust. "Impressive," Ben said, though inside he was thinking that his ship could have done the same thing with a fraction of the power. "That is our weakest weapon," Vextar boasted. "Our battle fleet carries weapons that can crack planets. Remember this when you speak to your leaders." "We will," Ben promised Dot, as the alien ships prepared to leave. Zekmoth made one final scan of the USS Defiant. But this time, something was different. Hidden deep in the ship's computer systems, he planted a small scanning probe. It would continue to study the human vessel long after the Zealoty fleet was gone. "Farewell, humans," Vextar said. "Enjoy your last few days of freedom." The screen went dark. The alien ships turned and headed back toward their own territory, leaving the USS Defiant alone among the stars. "Well," Jake said after a long moment, "that went better than expected." Ben allowed himself a small smile. Phase 1 complete. Now comes the interesting part. In his lab, Alex continued to monitor alien communications. The Zealoty were already making plans for their invasion. They had no idea that every word they spoke was being recorded and translated. And they certainly had no idea about the small scanning probe they had left behind. Lisa Bennett had detected it within minutes of its placement. Soon, it would discover things that would change everything. 2 days had passed since the Zealoty fleet left the USS Defiant alone in space. On the surface, everything seemed normal. The crew went about their daily routines, and the ship continued its patrol pattern. But deep inside the vessel, something was happening that would change everything. Lisa Bennett sat in her private workshop, staring at her computer screens. She had been tracking the alien scanning probe for 48 hours now. The tiny device was still hidden in the ship's systems, slowly working its way deeper into their computers. "It's learning," she muttered to herself. "The damn thing is actually learning." The probe had started by examining basic systems, life support, navigation, and communications. But as time passed, it began to notice things that didn't make sense. Power readings that were too high for the equipment it could see. Empty spaces in the ship that seemed to serve no purpose. Strange energy signatures that appeared and disappeared without explanation. Jake Morrison entered the workshop carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Any changes?" Lisa accepted the coffee gratefully. "It's getting curious. Look at this." She pointed to her screen, which showed the probe's scanning pattern. For the first day, it was just cataloging our standard equipment. Now it's actively searching for something. What kind of something? That's the problem. It's looking for answers to questions it doesn't know how to ask. It knows our ship doesn't make sense, but it can't figure out why. Meanwhile, on the Zealothi flagship, Commander Zekmoth was having the same problem. He sat in his laboratory, reviewing the data from the scanning probe. The information should have been simple and clear. Instead, it was full of contradictions. "Science Officer Thyara," he called to his assistant. "Look at these readings." Thyara was young for a Zealothi, with lighter blue skin and curious orange eyes. She studied the data carefully before speaking. "Sir, there are inconsistencies in the human vessel's power systems." "Explain." "Their reactor should be producing about 10,000 energy units per hour. But the probe is detecting power usage patterns that suggest they're actually generating 50,000 units per hour." Zekmoth frowned. "That's impossible. We scanned their reactor directly. It's a simple fusion system." "Yes, sir. But the math doesn't work. Either our scans were wrong, or they're hiding something." Back on the USS Defiant, Dr. Alex Thompson was monitoring alien communications when he heard something that made him sit up straight. The Zealothi were talking about the probe's findings, and they were starting to sound worried. He activated his comm system. "Captain Rodriguez to the lab, please. We have a problem." Ben arrived within minutes, followed by Jake and Amy. "What's the situation, Alex?" "The probe is causing problems for them. They're finding inconsistencies in our power systems, and they're starting to ask questions." Ben nodded grimly. "How long before they figure out the truth?" "Based on the probe's scanning rate, maybe 6 hours. 8 at the most." In her workshop, Lisa was watching the probe work its way deeper into the ship's systems. It had found the hidden passages now, the maintenance tunnels that connected the ship's secret sections. It was following power cables that led to rooms that officially didn't exist. "Jake," she called over the comm, "you need to see this." Jake arrived to find Lisa pointing at a 3-dimensional map of the ship. Red lines showed the probe's path as it moved through the vessel. "It's found the Quantum Lab," Lisa said quietly. The Quantum Lab was one of the USS Defiant's most secret sections, hidden behind false walls and protected by shields that could bend light itself. It housed some of humanity's most advanced technology. If the probe reached it, their secret would be exposed. "Can you stop it?" Jake asked. "Not without alerting the aliens that we know it's there. The probe is designed to self-destruct if it's discovered." On the alien ship, Thyara was staring at her screens in confusion. "Sir, the probe has found something unusual. There are chambers in the human ship that don't appear on any of our structural scans." Zekmoth leaned over her shoulder. "What kind of chambers?" "I'm not sure. The probe is detecting energy signatures it can't identify. The readings are strange." "Strange how?" "The energy patterns suggest technology we've never seen before. Some of the readings match theoretical descriptions of quantum manipulation devices Zekmoth's eyes widened. Quantum manipulation was something the Zelathi had dreamed about for centuries, but they had never been able to build working devices. The mathematics were too complex, the engineering too difficult. "That's impossible," he said. "The humans are primitives. They barely understand nuclear fusion." But even as he said it, he knew something was wrong. The probe's data was clear. The human ship contained technology that shouldn't exist. Back on the USS Defiant, the probe had reached the outer defenses of the quantum lab. It began scanning the strange materials that made up the lab's walls, substances that existed in multiple dimensions at once, metals that could phase in and out of normal space. Dr. Kate Lewis, the ship's quantum physicist, watched nervously as the probe's scans grew more intense. She was a quiet woman who preferred working with equations to talking with people, but she understood the situation perfectly. "Captain," she called over the comm, "the probe has reached the quantum lab's outer shell. It's detecting exotic matter." Ben's voice was calm but serious. "How exotic?" "Elements that don't exist in normal space. Compounds that we create using dimensional manipulation. If the probe analyzes this data, the aliens will know we have technology that's centuries beyond what they can build." The probe continued its work, sending data back to the Zelathi ship. Each new scan revealed more impossible things. Materials that were harder than diamond, but lighter than air. Energy conduits that carried power through folded space. Computer systems that processed information using quantum entanglement. On the alien ship, Commander Zekmoth and Science Officer Thyara stared at their screens in growing alarm. The data made no sense. According to their scans, the human ship contained technology that was more advanced than anything in the Zelathi Empire. "Sir," Thyara said quietly, "I think we made a mistake." "What kind of mistake?" "I don't think the humans are primitive at all. I think they've been lying to us." The probe pushed deeper into the ship's systems, and suddenly it found what it was looking for. Hidden behind layers of security and protected by shields that existed in 17 different dimensions, it discovered the USS Defiant's true heart. The ship's real reactor wasn't a simple fusion device. It was a dimensional engine that drew power from parallel universes. The weapons weren't basic plasma cannons. They were reality shapers that could rewrite the laws of physics in a limited area. The shields didn't just stop energy. They moved attacks into pocket dimensions where they could do no harm. On the Zelathi flagship, alarms began to sound. The probe's data was overwhelming their computer systems. Energy readings were off the scale. Technology signatures matched nothing in their databases. Admiral Vextar stormed into the science section. "What's happening?" Zekmoth looked up with fear in his black eyes. "Sir, we've been deceived. The human ship isn't primitive at all. According to these scans, their technology is more advanced than ours by hundreds of years." "That's impossible." "Sir, the probe doesn't lie. Look at these readings." Vextar studied the data, and his confidence began to crumble. If these scans were accurate, then the single human ship they had dismissed as harmless could destroy their entire fleet. And if one human ship was this advanced, what were the other 99 capable of? The scanning probe had finally reached the deepest parts of the USS Defiant. What it found there would shake the Zelathi Empire to its core. Dr. Kate Lewis stood in the quantum lab, watching her instruments carefully. The probe was now scanning the room's most secret equipment. Machines that could fold space and time. Weapons that drew energy from dying stars in distant galaxies. Computers that thought faster than light by processing information in parallel dimensions. "Captain," she said into her comm unit, "the probe has found everything. There's no hiding it anymore." Captain Ben Rodriguez sat in his chair on the bridge, looking calm despite the situation. "How long before they understand what they're seeing?" "The data is already being transmitted back to their ship." I'd say we have maybe 10 minutes before they realize what they're dealing with. Jake Morrison stood beside the captain's chair, watching the alien ships on the main screen. They were still heading back toward Zealothy space, confident in their plans for invasion. That was about to change. On the Zealothy flagship, Science Officer Thyara was trying to make sense of the impossible data flowing from their probe. Each new scan revealed technology that shouldn't exist. Her hands shook as she read the results. "Commander Zekmoth," she called, her voice tight with fear. "You need to see this immediately." Zekmoth hurried to her station. "What have you found?" "Sir, the probe has penetrated the human ship's central laboratory. The technology inside, it's beyond anything we've ever imagined." She brought up the scan results on the main screen. The data showed machines that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Energy readings that suggested the humans could tap into the fundamental forces that held the universe together. Weapon signatures that indicated the ability to destroy entire solar systems. "This can't be right," Zekmoth whispered. "Check the probe for malfunctions." Thyara ran every diagnostic test she knew. "Sir, the probe is working perfectly. All readings are confirmed and verified." Admiral Vexstar entered the science section, drawn by the alarm in their voices. "Report." Zekmoth turned to face his commander, his face pale with shock. "Admiral, we have made a terrible mistake. The human vessel is not primitive. It's the most advanced ship we have ever encountered." "Explain." Thyara activated the main display. "Sir, their reactor doesn't just produce energy. It harvests power from parallel dimensions. Their weapons don't just fire projectiles. They can manipulate the basic structure of reality. Their computers don't just process information. They think using quantum entanglement across the entire galaxy." Vexstar stared at the data in disbelief. "This is impossible. We watched them for months. Their colonies use simple technology. Their ships appeared basic." "Sir," Zekmoth said quietly, "I believe they have been deliberately hiding their true capabilities. Everything we observed was carefully designed to make us underestimate them." On the USS Defiant, Dr. Alex Thompson was monitoring the alien communications. He could hear the growing panic in their voices as they realized the truth. "Captain," he announced, "they're beginning to understand. I'm hearing words like impossible, advanced beyond measure, and we cannot fight this." Van nodded. "Good. Phase 2 is complete. Lisa, are you ready for Phase 3? In her workshop, Lisa Bennett smiled as she activated a hidden program. "Ready, sir. Initiating full revelation protocol." The scanning probe, which had been working quietly inside the ship's systems, suddenly found itself with unlimited access to every secret section of the USS Defiant. Doors that had been sealed opened. Systems that had been hidden came online. The probe's sensors were overwhelmed with data. It discovered the ship's true weapon systems, devices that could create miniature black holes, beams that could age matter by millions of years in seconds, and missiles that existed in a state of quantum superposition until they reached their target's dot. It found the defensive systems, shields that operated in 17 dimensions, armor that could phase out of normal space to avoid attacks, and repair systems that could rebuild the entire ship from a single surviving atom. Most shocking of all, it discovered that the USS Defiant was considered a small, lightly armed patrol vessel by human standards. A probe found files describing humanity's real warships, vessels, the size of small moons that could destroy entire star systems with a single shot. On the Zealothy flagship, the incoming data crashed 3 separate computer systems. The readings were so far beyond their understanding that their equipment couldn't process them. "Admiral," Thyara said, her voice barely a whisper, "according to this data, the human ship we encountered is what they classify as a light patrol vessel. Their actual battle fleet consists of ships that are 1,000 times more powerful. Vextar felt his confidence crumble completely. How many ships do they really have? Sir, the probe has accessed their military databases. They have over 10,000 vessels of various classes. But even their smallest ships carry weapons that could destroy our entire fleet. Admiral Vextar realized with growing horror that he had almost ordered an attack on a civilization that could erase the Zelathi Empire from existence without effort. The humans had let them scan their ship, not because they were helpless, but because they wanted the Zelathi to understand exactly what they would be facing. Commander, Seedingruth was reading through more files when he found something that made his blood freeze. Admiral, there's more. The humans have been aware of our civilization for over a year. They've been monitoring our communications, tracking our ships, and studying our technology. What? Sir, they have detailed files on every ship in our fleet, complete maps of our territory, and psychological profiles of our leadership. They know everything about us. The truth was even worse than Zekmuth realized. Humanity had been watching the Zelathi Empire for years, waiting to see if they would choose peace or war. The encounter with the USS Defiant had been a test, a chance for the aliens to show their true intentions. The Zelathi had failed that test completely. On the human ship, Captain Rodriguez opened a secure communication channel to Earth Command. This is the USS Defiant. Operation Revelation is complete. The Zelathi now understand our true capabilities. The response came immediately. Understood, Captain. How do you assess their response? Ben watched the alien ships on his screen. They had stopped moving and appeared to be holding an emergency meeting. I believe they're beginning to reconsider their invasion plans, sir. Excellent. Stand by for further orders. Dr. Kate Lewis approached the captain's chair. Sir, the probe is still active. They're continuing to download our files. Let them, Ben said with a slight smile. The more they learn, the better they'll understand why attacking humanity would be a very bad idea. In the quantum lab, machines hummed quietly as they performed tasks that would have seemed like magic to the Zelathi. Creating matter from pure energy, opening doorways to distant galaxies, manipulating time itself to send messages to the past. The scanning probe recorded it all, sending a steady stream of impossible data back to the increasingly terrified aliens. On the Zelathi flagship, Admiral Vextar made a decision that would save both their civilizations from a war that would have ended in the complete destruction of his people. Helm, he ordered, set course for home, maximum speed. Sir? The helmsman asked in confusion. We're leaving. Now. And we're never coming back to human space again. Admiral Vextar stood in the command center of his flagship, staring at the data streaming in from their probe. Each new piece of information made the situation worse. The humans weren't just advanced. They were so far beyond the Zelathi that fighting them would be like insects declaring war on gods. Commander Zekmuth, he said quietly, call an emergency council meeting. All ship commanders, immediately. Within minutes, the main screen showed the faces of 12 Zelathi ship commanders. They looked confident and eager, still believing they were about to win an easy victory over a primitive species. Report, Admiral, said Commander Feltar from the heavy cruiser Devastator. When do we return with the invasion fleet? Vextar took a deep breath. We don't. The invasion is cancelled. All ships are to return to Zelathi space immediately and maintain a minimum distance of 100 light-years from any human territory. The commanders stared at him in shock. Commander Nelseth, from the destroyer Shadowblade, spoke first. Sir, I don't understand. Our scans showed they were helpless. Our scans were wrong, Vextar replied grimly. Show them the data, Zekmuth. The probe's findings appeared on every ship's screen. Energy readings that broke their instruments. Technology that operated on principles they didn't understand. Weapons that could reshape reality itself. "This is impossible," whispered Commander Tavran from the scout ship Whisper. "These readings suggest technology that's thousands of years beyond ours." Science Officer Thyara spoke up from her station. "Commanders, we have confirmed these readings multiple times. The human vessel carries weapons that could destroy our entire fleet with a single shot. And according to their own files, it's considered a light patrol ship." The silence that followed was deafening. 12 of the Zelathi Empire's finest commanders realized they had been moments away from ordering the extinction of their own species. On the USS Defiant, Dr. Alex Thompson continued monitoring alien communications. The panic in their voices was clear even through the translation software. "Captain," he announced, "they're calling off the invasion. All Zelathi ships have been ordered to return home and maintain distance from human space." Captain Ben Rodriguez nodded with satisfaction. "Good, but let's make sure they understand the message completely. Lisa, activate the demonstration protocols." In her workshop, Lisa Bennett activated systems that had been hidden for the entire encounter. Suddenly, the USS Defiant began to change. The ship's hull shifted and flowed like liquid metal. Hidden weapon ports opened along its sides. Energy shields flickered into existence, creating a barrier that bent light around the vessel. The ship's size seemed to double as extensions deployed from hidden compartments. On the Zelathi flagship, their instruments went wild. The human ship they had dismissed as primitive was transforming before their eyes into something that looked like it belonged in their nightmares. "Sir," Thyara gasped, "the human vessel is reconfiguring itself. Power output has increased by a factor of 50. I'm detecting weapon systems that ... That shouldn't be possible." Admiral Vextar watched in horrified fascination as the USS Defiant revealed its true form. This was what a human patrol ship really looked like when it wasn't pretending to be helpless. "Admiral," Commander Zekmuth said urgently, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel." "Put it through." Captain Rodriguez appeared on their screen, but now he looked different. The nervousness was gone, replaced by calm confidence. Behind him, the bridge of his ship hummed with advanced technology that hurt to look at directly. "Admiral." "Vextar," Ben said politely, "I hope you found our ship's capabilities ... educational." Vextar could barely speak. "You ... You were never helpless at all." "No," Ben confirmed. "We wanted to give you a chance to choose peace. Unfortunately, your intentions toward humanity were quite clear. We ... We made a mistake," Vextar stammered. "We thought you were primitive." "Many species make that mistake," Ben replied. "Humanity learned long ago that it's often better to appear weak while remaining strong. It gives peaceful species a chance to choose diplomacy over war." On the bridge of the USS Defiant, Jake Morrison watched the alien ships with careful attention. Their formation had completely broken down. Some ships were already turning toward home. Others seemed frozen with indecision. Dr. Kate Lewis approached the captain's chair. "Sir, our long-range sensors are detecting massive movement throughout Zelathi space. It looks like they're pulling back all their military forces." Ben nodded. "Smart of them. Amy, open a channel to the Zelathi fleet." "Channel open, sir." "Admiral." "Vextar, humanity has no desire for war with your people. We suggest you return to your territory and reconsider your expansion policies. There are many species in this galaxy who prefer peace to conquest." "Yes," Vextar agreed quickly. "Yes, of course, we would like to discuss trade agreements. Peaceful relations, that can be arranged," Ben said. "But first, your empire needs to show that it has truly changed its ways. Release the species you have enslaved. Return what you have stolen. Prove that the Zelathi can be trusted." "It will be done," Vextar promised. "Immediately." "Excellent. We look forward to hearing about your progress." The transmission ended, leaving the Zealoty fleet alone with their fear and their new understanding of humanity's true power. On the USS Defiant, the crew began powering down their advanced systems. The ship slowly returned to its disguised appearance, once again looking like a simple patrol vessel. "Well," Jake said with a smile, "that went better than expected." "Indeed," Ben agreed. "Alex, monitor their communications for the next few days. I want to know if they keep their promises." Dr. Alex Thompson was already working at his station, his translation programs running at full speed. "Captain, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. The message is going out to every Zealoty ship and colony in their empire." "What are they saying?" "They're declaring humanity a protected species and ordering all military forces to avoid human space. They're also ... double quotes. Alex paused, checking his translation. "They're telling their people that humans should be treated with the same respect they would show to the ancient ones from their old legends." Lieutenant Sam Parker looked up from his tactical station. "The ancient ones?" "According to their mythology," Alex explained. "The ancient ones were beings of incredible power who could destroy or create entire worlds with a thought. The Zealoty considered them gods." Ben smiled slightly. "So we've gone from primitives to gods in the space of one afternoon. That's quite a promotion." Over the next several hours, the crew of the USS Defiant watched as the Zealoty fleet scattered. The alien ships raced back toward their own territory as fast as their engines could carry them. None of them wanted to spend another moment near the terrifying human vessel. Amy Carter tracked their progress on her sensors. "Sir, all Zealoty ships have left our sensor range. They're heading home at maximum speed." "Good," Ben said. "Lisa, begin shutdown procedures for all advanced systems. Return us to standard patrol configuration." In her workshop, Lisa Bennett began the careful process of hiding their ship's true capabilities once again. Within an hour, the USS Defiant looked and scanned exactly like a simple human patrol vessel. Their secret was safe once more. 3 days later, Dr. Alex Thompson made an announcement that surprised everyone. "Captain, I'm picking up long-range communications from Zealoty space." "They're actually doing it." "Doing what?" "Releasing their slaves. The entire empire is in chaos, but they're freeing every species they conquered. They're also broadcasting apologies across the galaxy and offering to return stolen resources." Jake whistled softly. "They're really that scared of us?" "It seems so," Alex replied. "But there's more. They're also sending out warnings to other hostile species. They're telling everyone about humanity's true capabilities." Ben raised an eyebrow. "Are they now? And what exactly are they saying?" Alex pulled up the translated messages. "They're calling us the Quiet Ones, beings who appear peaceful but possess unimaginable power. They're advising all aggressive species to avoid human space at all costs." "Interesting," Ben mused. "That could actually work in our favor." Over the following weeks, reports came in from across the galaxy. Species that had been planning to attack. Human colonies suddenly changed their minds. Pirate fleets that had been raiding human shipping routes disappeared overnight. Even ancient enemies of various civilizations were seeking peace rather than risk drawing humanity's attention. The Zealoty had become humanity's unwitting ambassadors, spreading word of their terrifying encounter to anyone who would listen. The story grew with each telling. The simple human patrol ship became a vessel that could destroy stars. And Captain Rodriguez became a being who could control the laws of physics with his thoughts. 1 month after the encounter, Admiral Vextar himself sent a personal message to the USS Defiant. His appearance on the screen was very different from their first meeting. Gone was the arrogant conqueror. In his place was a humbled leader who had learned the value of peace. Captain Rodriguez he said formally. "I wanted to thank you personally." Ben looked surprised. "Thank me?" "Yes. You could have destroyed our fleet without effort. Instead, you chose to teach us. The Zelethi Empire is different now, better. We have learned that strength without wisdom leads only to destruction." "I'm glad to hear that, Admiral. Our people